Well, hello everyone, Southwest Louisiana and Lake Charles. This is Mayor Nick Hunter, and I'm honored to have some individuals joining me for a conversation today. Of course, our initial and immediate concern is the health and safety and the medical community, our citizens. We want our citizens to be safe and healthy. But there's also the ongoing question about get back to a sense of normalcy. What makes Lake Charles and Southwest Louisiana a great and unique community? And we know that a big part of that is the arts. Our arts and our culture and the humanities, that community has always been so strong here in Southwest Louisiana. So we thought it prudent to take a moment to discuss some of those issues, even amongst this craziness that we're going through right now. And I'm joined with some great individuals and people that I consider friends. Let's just start out with introductions, and I'll ask you to just introduce yourself and a quick job description. We'll start off with Brooke.
Hi there, I'm Brooke Hanneman. I'm the Director of Banners at McNeese State University. We have a cultural season and we operate throughout the year with outreach and we have Rouge et Blanc.
Thank you. Devin?
I'm Devin Corbello, the Executive Director of the Arts and Humanities Council, and our mission is to support arts and culture, artists in our community, and we have multiple events throughout the year. We also administer grants for nonprofits and artists.
Excellent. And Devin, you're relatively new to the job, is that right?
I am. This is coming up on month number 4, I think. So
all right.
A lot has happened in 4 months.
Yeah. And Matt?
Yeah, so Matt Young, Director of Cultural Affairs for the City of Lake Charles, and we manage city's events as well as 2 historic properties, Central School Arts and Humanities and Historic City Hall Arts and Cultural Center.
Okay, thank you. So going in the same order, how are you doing? How's your family holding up, if I may ask? And how is your office staff adapting to this, and how has your agency been adapting to the situation we find ourselves in? Brooke?
I am great. Thank you very much. I hope you'll answer the same question later on. My staff is doing great. We've had to move, of course, remotely, and luckily there's a lot to keep us busy, and tons of professional development and collaborations that we're working on, both locally and on a larger scale. My family is great. So I among many of those out there, are being a parent and a professional person. So duct tape has been involved with the children, not really. So we're doing really good. And I think that as far as the staff goes, and family and the people in the community that I've talked to, it is a trying time, but at the same time, I think that we all recognize it's a profoundly important time. And one where we're really getting to step back and take a look at what is important in our lives and how much we actually spend our day-to-days nourishing those things, whether it be art or whether it be our health or our family. So it's, I think we're all taking the positive out of it.
Brooke, I've noticed that, are y'all right in the middle of the banners? Y'all are right in the banners season right now. So how
Yes.
adapted to that? What are y'all doing with the performances?
Well, March and April are the months of our cultural season. So that has been a huge shift in what we're doing. We were able, through Killer Photography, to stream our last performance that we had. And it was picked up by many people locally. And the artist also was an international artist who had 5,000 viewers around. And so we got a lot of exposure on that. And I think, one of the artist's messages during that time was to other artists in saying, as artists, we often say we don't have enough time to create. Well, now's the time to create. And so he was urging the artistic community to get involved, and also patrons of the arts to be engaged. And so that was what we did for our last show. After that, we've had to, we're going to say postpone, not cancel our shows. And we're trying to see, are we going to move them over into our 2021 season, or are we going to do one-offs throughout the year? These are just some of the questions that we're grappling with right now.
All right, thanks, Brooke. Devin, same to you. If I may ask, how are you? How's your family? How's the office staff? And how have y'all adapted right now and tried to be nimble as an agency?
Sure. So, We're good. All of my family is good. We're all self-isolating, social distancing, communicating via FaceTime and phone calls, so we get to keep up with each other. Of course, they're working from home. I do miss seeing them every day, but I know that they're healthy and they're safe. And still communicate. We're still in the creative mode, trying to get things, like Brooke said. We have plenty to keep us busy, and we haven't stopped working for the community and for our artists. And so we're coming up with new ways to support the artists and get information out there for them with whatever they may need. And like Brooke said, we're postponing events that we had coming up. We had Live at the Lakefront, Spring Art Walk, and a new partnership with a beer fest in May, but unfortunately we'll have to push all that back, hopefully over the summer or fall season. But we're adjusting, and we have some great things in store. And also, I hope your family's doing well. Hope Becky and the kids are doing okay.
Thanks. You know what? I'll go ahead and take the opportunity to say thank you, Brooke and Devin, for asking. My family's good. Becky and I actually made a pretty difficult decision about a week and a half ago to send the whole family to Moss Bluff, other than me.
Mm.
Mom lives in Moss Bluff, and out of abundance of caution, we got a 1.5-month-old, and we read some research that said one thing and some that went another way, but we went ahead and made the decision to send them to Moss Bluff, and it's the longest I've been without seeing my kids or my wife since I've been married and had kids. So it's difficult. I really miss them. But thank you for asking. Matt, how are you doing?
And I'm good. Mayor Hunter, I'm sorry to hear that you're away from your family right now, but I agree that that is the absolute best, safest decision for them. I know that's tough for the newborn. We're doing good. The family is great. I actually spoke with my mom just a few minutes ago on the phone. They're all social distancing in DeRidder. But I agree wholeheartedly with Brooke and Devin. The opportunity that coronavirus has created for the arts community is really a chance to slow down, take a breather, and reassess how are we facilitating art and the cultural economy in Southwest Louisiana, and how can we do it more efficiently and better to where we reach much larger audiences. And that's what these couple of weeks really have been about for us, is replanning events and exhibits to where we make them accessible in people's homes.
Matt, we unfortunately had a couple exhibits that got a bit of a short life. Can you tell us what those are, and then maybe give a quick prelude as to what is to come at 1911 Historic City Hall?
Yeah, you bet. So JFK, the American Visionary exhibit, was one that I was most excited about. Unfortunately, we had to end that one about 3 weeks early. But the bright side of that is that now we're taking a look at moving a lot of our galleries online, so we can do a virtual tour. With that particular exhibit, we weren't able to do so because the curating company prohibited videography of their exhibit. But moving forward, and we're going to try this next week with our Lake Charles Legends exhibit. We picked 15 Hall of Famers and 15 artists we matched them up with. We're going to give people a virtual tour of that gallery before it comes down, so that regardless of whether or not you're able to come to the museum, you can experience that. And I think that families will find it to be a welcome relief from, trying to entertain the kids at home. They can just tune in and learn something about Lake Charles.
Okay, so awesome. I didn't know that. So the Lake Charles Legends exhibit will be available to view online?
Online, yeah. And to answer the other part of your question, we're rescheduling the New Moon Rises exhibit with the Smithsonian. That one's curated by the National Air and Space Museum, and it focuses on the Apollo 11 landing. So we're hopeful that we'll still be able to bring that one to Lake Charles and open it up to the public, because I think it's going to be so vitally important that on day one, when government and public health officials say you can open again, that we're hitting the ground running to reconnect the community, with their own surroundings.
Awesome. Okay, what can the average Lake Charles citizen do right now to support the arts community? Brooke?
Goodness, that's a huge question. And I have to preface before I speak, I've spoken with a lot of area artists. I've spoken with educators, musicians, visual artists, directors, actors, producers, technicians, and designers, and gotten a lot of feedback about this. And I wish I could include everything, but I can't. But I think one overall takeaway is We have learned, and actually Charles McNeely of McNeese State University worded this really well, and many people did. If we have learned anything from this, we know that people are sustained, find sustenance in the arts. All very isolated right now. And of course, health and safety are the first things that matter most. But beyond that, I would challenge all of our Lake Charles citizens to really look at what has been keeping them going during this time. And I would venture to guess that it has been art, whether it's the cartoonist or the comedian or the musician or the binge watching television, films, paintings, memes that people have sent. They all come from artists. And so I think moving forward, when the dust settles and this is in the rearview mirror, I think that we do need to reevaluate how important the arts are. They're given short shrift sometimes, but they really are keeping a lot of people afloat right now, because mental health is a part of health too, and the arts really help with that. Outside of that, in a more logistical way, you know, I think some things that people can do if they are in the place to do it, and we're all in precarious situations, is if you can, buy memberships. Look at what our region has to offer. We have so many wonderful museums and theater groups and ballets, symphonies, music groups. Buy memberships if you can. I would also say, if you're in the position and you have had a membership or you've purchased tickets to any of the local venues, if you're in the position to do so, donate that money instead of asking for a refund or something to that effect. If you are in that position, and not everybody is, and that's understandable too. You know, buy art. So many of our artists, our visual artists, have wonderful websites. Buy art. There's a great balance too between Louisiana art that really shows the spirit of who we are, and then local artists who also just have unique and interesting perspectives of things that are outside of the fleur-de-lis of the painting world and things like that. To balance those things and support and buy art. I think also going back to memberships, our first responders, our nurses, our medical people, those of you that are working with the government, those of you who are tirelessly going to keep us all safe. What we can do aside from washing our hands and social distancing and following directives and keeping each other and our neighbors safe. Afterwards, gift a membership to them, gift tickets to them, gift art to them. If you are in the position to give back, that is a part of our community that I don't know that we will ever be able to repay entirely. One other idea real quickly is one of our local practitioners suggested creating a centralized website that would highlight the artist sites. So you could go there and maybe see the name, the picture, a bio, and then a link to social media, their social media, or a link to their website, that kind of thing. So we have a cohesive way that people can get into and support each one of our amazing artists. We have so many, whether it's theater, literature, film. We have an embarrassment of riches in this region of artists. You know, I could go on and on, but I guess I will end where I began in saying, you know, there's a great music video that was sent out by Mickey Smith Jr. About, you know, the world without music. But imagine the world without art for just a second. Imagine that there's no paintings, no art on your walls, that there's no color on your house, that your clothes were not designed. Imagine that there's no television for you to see. Imagine that your sports events were not curated in an artistic fashion. Imagine that you can't listen to anything, see anything, or read anything. That is, I think now when we're all confined, I think we can reimagine. Imagine being confined without art. And then let's all get back together and see how we can further just support what we are all doing as artists. And one last thing, and then I'll stop talking because I could go on forever, is, you know, make a commitment that when it is safe, very safe to do so, that we commit to going out to one arts showing and offering a month, one a month. Support your children, raise your children in a way that they see the value and the comfort and the healing and the power of art, so that they have this as well in their lives. And I'll close with that.
Brooke. Well, Devin, I think Brooke gave you a couple of ideas there for the Arts and Humanities Council. So Devin, what can the average citizen do in your eyes to support the community in Lake Charles right now?
Well, for sure, what Brooke said and everything that she said was amazing. And I think if you look back at history, some of the greatest pieces of art have come out of crisis moments. So I think this is a great way for the artists to spend time in their creative thinking. I may even get to drawing. I'm not a drawer. I'm not good at art, but with being cooped up all the time, I may just start. But I think it's a great way to support the artists. We have great artists. We have great musicians out there that are sharing their artwork on Facebook, and that's a great way to see their art and to buy it and to share their page as much as you can. I think social media has come out to be a great way. You know, despite all the bad news that you see on there, see someone painting or just see someone singing in the living room, I think is great. And to go back to the one centralized site that Brooke was talking about, we just started in a partnership with Visit Lake Charles is the Heartbeat Tour. We started that in February, and that's still very much evolving. But right now, it's kind of a culmination of all artists in Southwest Louisiana and where you can find their artwork, where you can buy their artwork, where you can see some of their demonstrations, and take virtual tours. And I think, you know, arts, of course, is a heartbeat of our community. So that's where that name came from. And with that, after this, I think it's going to grow even more to have a sense of what that could do. But with Chad Moreno, he did this really cool thing called Push Venue, and he started that where musicians can go and they can stream, you know, an intimate concert for an hour, and people can donate that way. We have one coming up within the next week or two with Push Venue, and it's going to be a 3-act stream, one with 2 musicians and then 1 visual artist, to help raise money for the artists and for the Arts and Humanities Council. And it's a great way to show what they're doing out there, what the community has to offer as far as arts go. But again, with what Brooke said, the memberships are a big thing too. Banners, it's a great membership. We have the 337 campaign that we're doing more with this year whenever events do finally come up, that you can have a little bit more perks whenever it comes to those events. And I love the idea of gifting those memberships to first responders, to teachers, to people who in the community, we didn't realize how much we needed until a crisis happened, but they're so valuable and they're so, they've done so much for us and they're on the front lines. And so that's a really great idea, Brooke. I love that. Also, just get out there, and whenever it is safe, just go to an art show, go listen, you know, at a local restaurant. We have tons of live concerts every week, and so it's not hard to find something that interests you. So just be on the lookout for whenever that is safe. Share that on our Facebook page, and I'm sure you'll see that across the board. So
thanks, Devin. Yeah, I don't think anyone is ever going to take for granted just the simple pleasure of going to see a live performance, or just going out to dinner. Going out to dinner and then seeing a live performance is something that perhaps before this event we did take for granted a little bit, and we do have the opportunity in normal times in Lake Charles to enjoy so much of a variety and diversified culture and arts. So thank you for both of you for reminding us about that. Matt, in your eyes, what can an average Lake Charles citizen do to support the arts right now?
Yeah, I'm glad that Devin mentioned Push Venue. Pushvenue.com or their Facebook page. They're promoting and streaming a lot of local performances, not even just limited to musicians, but performances in general. It might be a dance, ballet, a community band. One thing that I saw very cool last week, and this just speaks to the heart of Lake Charles, there were 2 musicians that got on. I think they played Thursday, and then in a matter of an hour that they were playing, they raised $500 through Venmo, because you were allowed to tip your musician. You're not physically walking up to the stage and dropping $5 in a bucket, but you were able to send it to them via PayPal or Venmo. And so in so doing, these 2 musicians also made the commitment on the spot to redistribute that money to other musicians that were starving right now during this time. And so I think it's just a strong testament to how beautiful Lake Charles's heart is and how big it is. And so pushing a lot of these exhibits, events online, and having Lake Charles turn out and support them is the biggest way that they can help. In addition, right now we see a lot of our community groups really working together. I mean, nose to the grindstone to reschedule their events. As Brooke and Devin both mentioned, lots of community events postponed, looking at moving those back to the fall. Beer Fest, we're replanning for September 26th. We're working with the Arts Council to coordinate Downtown at Sundown and Live at the Lakefront, so that we'll have ultimately 6 consecutive weeks of outdoor, free to the public concerts. And so the biggest way beyond this crisis that people can help is just to come back out and support. And I really think that people are going to be starving for that public interaction, for, as you said, going to be able to go to dinner and not taking those things for granted. But that would be a huge help.
All right. And, you know, Brooke, you used the word precarious, and right now there are a lot of people that are in a precarious situation financially. But for those who can, there are so many opportunities right now to try and support, you know, local agencies, artists themselves. And, you know, if we listed all of them, we'd be here for an hour. But there are just so many opportunities, if someone can, to financially support the arts community right now. And we said this the other day with some nonprofits. People want to help. You know, they're sitting at home and they want to do something, those who can. And sometimes what is more efficient than going to the grocery store and just buying a bunch of stuff that you're not quite sure if an agency needs or not is, again, for those who can, a financial contribution, even if it's $5 or $10, it's more nimble and could help in this situation. And again, we have so many opportunities here in Lake Charles for people to reach out and support those different agencies. Let's kind of go around one more time with just a closing comment, and perhaps maybe even throw in, you know, you mentioned, Brooke, some maybe some binge watching opportunities. So who on this conversation is willing to share what you've been watching on YouTube or Netflix? And or maybe what music you've been jamming to lately. Brooke, we'll start off with you.
Oh Lord, I drank the Kool-Aid on the Tiger King guy. Everyone, I did it. It is absolutely insipid, but psychologically fascinating. So I've been doing that a little bit. Honestly, I'm trying to take this opportunity also to finish my dissertation. So I'm trying not to binge watch so much, but yeah. I have to admit to that. And I'm also embarrassed to tell you that prior to this, my guilty pleasure was the Preppers show. So I've been watching people prepare for this for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I should be, you know, really, really strong on it. Real quick though, before I forget, I wanted to also just add, for those who don't have money, if you do, Venmo is wonderful. I mean, there could be a telethon. That would be a wonderful thing that could be done. But also, once this is in the rearview mirror, come out and volunteer. If you don't have the money to attend the arts, I can say for myself at least, Banners runs off of a beautiful group of volunteers, an army that we consider to be a family. And so if you believe that you don't have the resources, don't think that you can't be involved in the arts. There's amazing opportunities across the board. And then one more thing, which isn't binge watching, but it's just an art concept that I'll leave you with, is kintsukuroi. It's a Japanese form of art, but it's also a philosophy. And basically what it is it's the practice of taking pottery that has been broken, and then you put it back together. But instead of trying to hide the cracks and the fissures, you line them with gold, because there's a belief that not only do you come back and survive damaging situations, but you are stronger and the better for it, and that those things should be created in art and celebrated beautifully. So I would ask also that people keep that in mind. The arts aren't just going to come back. They're going to be stronger, more unified, and more supported. And I'll leave it with that.
Thanks, Brooke. Devin.
So I have watched The Tiger King. Great. I have rewatched The Golden Girls. It's one of my favorite.
That's awesome.
So, it just reminds me of my childhood, spending time with my grandma, and so it's great. It's a great way to get your mind off of things. But listening to a lot of local music. Whenever I started this job, it was I was in the middle of planning for Live at the Lakefront. I got to hear a lot of talent that we have in the area. So, you know, people like Infinite Bus and that are kind of new on the scene, and all these musicians that I've never heard of or didn't really know before. So I've had listening to them and kind of got hooked on their music. Also Dua Lipa, she's kind of a more international artist, but she's fantastic too. Her album just dropped, which is great. But again, what Brooke said, volunteering is so great. That's how I got involved in the Arts Council way back when, and with different organizations. It's a great way to kind of see what their mission is behind the scenes and how they work with their board and how they work with their volunteers, and do what we do without our volunteers. And we're so appreciative of them. And even if you do have some money to give, volunteering is way more valuable, I think, in some aspects. And it kind of, it's a little bit more you get a little bit more invested in what is of that organization. And I volunteered at Rouge et Blanc, which was super
Yay.
fun.
Thank
yes.
you.
But any organization is always looking for volunteers in some kind of way. And again, if you're an artist and you would like to get involved with our Humanities Council and for our push venue events that are coming up, please contact me. Have a video of you doing some kind of artwork or playing or cooking, whatever it may be. So please reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, Devin. Matt, will the arts community survive here in Lake Charles?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's probably one of the most resilient sectors ever. And to answer your question about the television shows, I have not jumped on the Tiger King bandwagon, despite Michael and Allison Antoon's suggestions, strong. But I have watched the morning show. I watched 10 episodes of that this past weekend with Reese Witherspoon and Jennifer Aniston. That's a great watch. But to echo their thoughts, volunteering in the community, getting involved, it really is one of the best ways to put this community back together once we're able to all go out and give hugs again. That's another thing that we're probably not going to take for granted. But thank you, Mayor Hunter, for what you have done.
Thank you. Yes.
In this local community. And driving communication forward and keeping us informed and having these conversations with area leaders, it so helps and it's comforting to know that everybody is in this together.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. So I'll answer the question. I watched the first episode of Tiger King, and I immediately texted Becky and I said, I'm not watching any more of this because we've got to watch this together. There is no way that I can experience this without my wife next to me, shouting at the TV and laughing. So I told her to go ahead and watch the first episode. We're going to wait till she's back at the house and watch the rest of it. I'm kind of an old soul, so I've been checking out some things on Prime and Netflix, but the old Carol Burnett show, I don't know if you watched that last night, and Dark Shadows. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that one, but it's just this old spooky black and white from the 60s, and I just kind of found it interesting. And working a lot during the day like everybody, and then like many people at home, you get home and my family's not even there, so I do have just a little more time to do stuff like that in the evenings. But I want to thank y'all so much for this conversation. Again, we know that the immediate concern is rightfully on the health and safety of our citizens, our medical community. But we're going to get through this. And when we do get through this, we've got to remember those things that make Lake Charles and Southwest Louisiana special. And why do we celebrate living here so much? What makes us so great? And I really think that the art community is a huge component of that. So during these trying times, it's good to remind ourselves of them. And I really appreciate everyone for joining me in this conversation to help remind people about what makes us so special here in Southwest Louisiana. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.